What about Brady and her together? What about her need to be with Brady, not a bodyguard? Greetings, this is your host Lavinia Dasani, and in today's video we are going to be reading chapter 11 of the novel Snowblind by author Cassie Miles. So grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee or hot cocoa and join me. Welcome back. I hope you've gotten comfy for chapter 11. Chapter 10 ended with an intruder breaking into Sasha's condo. Don't know who it was, just know that it came from the side through the balcony, so that's where it entered. I'm pretty sure nothing was taken, but it just gave them a scare. Don't know what's gonna happen in chapter 11, so let's dive right into it and see what this book has to offer us. Chapter 11 started with Brady speaking with some of the security people while they were using blue lights and dusting footprints across the room and on the balcony to see if they had any evidence of the intruder, especially along the side of the building where the intruder had climbed from one floor to the next. Like Sasha said in the previous chapter, it must be some kind of ninja going from the side of the building. And since Sasha had already spoken to the property manager, she didn't have much to do, and she figured she would make better use of her time by calling Damien. At the same time, she was a bit nervous because her job was to make sure that there was no negative situation. If there was negative situation, to take care of it. And lately, every time her and Damien are speaking, there's been a negative situation, some type of problem which she was at the center of. And that's why she was kind of nervous, because that was her job and she was doing a pretty good job at it. Moreover, her boss, Damien, was actually at that time in a meeting with the Westfield family, and he didn't want to be disturbed. But since Sasha needed him, he had to come out, and when he popped on the screen, he looked angry. But instead of apologizing for interrupting him, Sasha figured that Damien had to know there was a damage to the corporate property, and her call was actually appropriate because it was a safety issue. The condo was broken into. What? Why? She was painfully aware that the break-in could be blamed on her involvement in the murder investigation, but she didn't want to spin it that way. Nothing appears to be stolen, but I'm not familiar with everything that's in here. Could they have been looking for something valuable? You mean like a safe or document? He frowned as he thought. Not as far as I know. I'll check with the other partners at the firm. From this and the fact that later on he tells Sasha to install a deadbolt that afternoon itself instead of just changing the lock, showed that Damien actually cared. But he was also very professional, but at the same time he actually cared. So that tells me that might be like a love triangle happening later on. I'm not sure, but since the apartment was broken into, there is a chance that Damien will drop his meetings and go to the condo to make sure that Sasha is safe. That's just my speculation. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I have a feeling that Damien is gonna come in and create some trouble for Sasha and Brady. Actually, I might be a bit wrong about the whole love triangle thing, because here, right after he showed that he cared and asked her to change the bolt of the door, he made sure that she wasn't in the room when the break-in happened. Right after that, he asked Sasha where she was, and there was an accusing tone when he asked that question, which irritated Sasha, because Sasha felt that Damien should have been more concerned about her physical safety rather than being concerned about her being at a crime scene and bringing up more trouble. When Sasha informed Damien that she was indeed at a crime scene and that the police had discovered a body, Damien's upper lip curled in a sneer. Is it about the apparent murder you witnessed? It's a real murder. She could accept his dismissive attitude toward her, but she will not allow him to belittle the horrible crime that had been committed. She was killed in a callous and cold-blooded manner. They found her remains stuffed inside a piece of luggage. Her name was Lauren Robbins. Damien's eyes widened and he drew back from the screen, showing that he did know the name, or even know the person, but there was a glint of recognition there. He asked Sasha to what the name was once more time. Robbins, Laura Robbins. Lauren. It's actually Lauren, not Laura. She's 37 and lived in Denver. She's Lloyd Reinhardt's ex-wife. Stunned, she felt her jaw drop. No way. Damn it. Did you know her? An attractive woman with long black hair, very classy. She looks a lot like her cousin, who is also in real estate. In fact, I think they worked together for a while. Andrea Tat. She choked on the name. Her cousin is Andrea Tat. Yes, he said. She's here in Arcadia, staying at the hotel. She's dating Mr. Reinhardt. Ooh, that's spicy. See, now this tells me it's either Andrea Tat. No, because she saw a man. So it gotta be someone employed by Reinhardt, or even Andrea's employed someone to kill her. Because this is a real connection right here. Realizing the same connection, Damien asked Sasha to try to get away from the investigation because their firm could not be involved with this investigation, especially since they've been building a whole new hotel in this place and Reinhardt was one of the investors. Sasha, however, disagreed with Damien and told him that she could not back away as he wanted, and that was because she needed to cooperate with the cop. At the same time as Damien was telling Sasha to stay as far away from the investigation as possible, and even if she needed to cooperate, she didn't actually need to be in their pocket, Sasha's main thought was, what about Brady? What about her need for a bodyguard? She wanted to keep her job, but she wouldn't risk her life to stay employed. Her brain clicked through possibilities. Do you think Mr. Reinhardt will be a suspect? Cops always go after the ex-husband, no doubt. Then it's important for me to stay on the good side, she said. I witnessed a murder and I know Reinhardt didn't do it. I'm his alibi. I mean, that's clever. But you could always employ someone to kill other people, so there's that fact. And I'm also thinking that was the was not the only reason why she wanted to see the investigation. When she said, "What about Brady?" my main thought was, what about Brady and her together? What about her need to be with Brady, not a bodyguard? I'm thinking that's what she meant at the back of her head, but didn't say it. After Sasha's and Damien's phone call ended and she changed into a more comfortable clothes, Sasha couldn't help but feel like she was soon going to be unemployed. Says here that she felt like her neck was on a chopping block and the axe was about to fall. And if she did lose her job, she couldn't count on a good recommendation for her to get another job in the same circle. But she figured she could probably get back in her boss' good grace by helping to solve the murder, by helping to make sure that Reinhard is proven innocent. That is, if he did not employ someone to kill his ex-wife. And here we go again. Sasha, as strong as she is, from what we've seen from the other chapters, said that if she and Brady was actually alone right now, she would have jumped into his arm and clung to him while she poured out her fears about losing her job. It seems a bit clingy to me, but that's just me. That the author might have been trying to portray something more sentimental, I would say, but for me personally, it's a bit too much for someone of her character. But thankfully, she behaved appropriately since there were other people around. Since Sasha didn't have much to do after speaking to the property manager once again for the installation of the deadbolt and the insurance claim that she will later filed based on Damien's proposition, she asked the property manager to just fill the refrigerator with actual food, or basically Damien's standardized list of food that he usually have when he comes in. And surprisingly, Brady haven't asked Sasha to move in with her yet, which he's taking a long time, man. But Sasha sat at the table beside Brady after the property manager left to do whatever she was asked to do. Her desire, by her I mean Sasha, her desire to be close to Brady was so strong that she actually leaned toward him and bumped her shoulder against his arm. He glanced toward her and flashed a dimpled grin. Again with a dimple, if you remember from the previous videos, I mentioned that a dimple, especially a dimple grin, is one of the sexiest things ever. They found out that the security guy who was working with the fingerprinting and forensic tool, they found out that this guy was actually in high school with Brady, and he could be useful to them in guarding the place and in working out on how the intruder came in and what type of actually grappling hooks he used, because this method was new to both Max and Brady. But far greater news was that Max security firm Max is the guy that went to school with Brady. He has a surveillance video of the balcony, and they were waiting for the video to be transferred to his digital screen, which meant that they could soon see who actually broke into her condo. But I'm assuming he was wearing masks. He's been so careful so far, so As Sasha filled Brady in on the fact that she had mentioned the victim's name to Damian, she noticed a lazy grin lifting the corner of Brady's mouth. The way his gaze lingered on her face made her wonder if he'd been having the same thoughts about touching and being close, and she hoped so. She wanted another kiss just to make sure the first one hadn't been a fluke. And given the range of emotion running inside of her, it didn't surprise me that she blurted out that Lauren Robbins was Reinhardt's ex-wife and her cousin is Andrea Tat, which snapped Brady's attention. Or actually, which snapped Brady to attention. In the blink of an eye, he lost the lazy cowboy image as he pushed away from the table and took out his cell phone. I better inform the sheriff. However, pondering over it, Sasha recognized that Reinhardt will eat the sheriff alive. So she proposed that Brady himself inform Reinhardt that his wife, or actually ex-wife, was the one who was murdered. Brady's comeback was that he suspected Reinhardt already knew, since she had actually already informed Reinhardt's lawyer, who is Damien, and by now he must have already been informed, already be coming up with all type of excuses, evidence to clear his name, all that jazz. Which made Sasha realize that she probably shouldn't have said anything, since, if they actually had any evidence, they would already be covering it up. But Brady, as Brady walked away, he said that it's fine, she didn't actually know, so he didn't actually blame her for possibly ruining the future investigation. And as Sasha says here, balancing between the police and the lawyers was a tricky business, particularly when one is in the middle of everything, because she works for the lawyer, she is with Brady trying to get the investigation going, and then she witnessed the murder and she knows that Lloyd Reinhardt did not kill the wife, but at the same time she doesn't know that he hadn't had paid someone to kill his wife. So there's all that happening and she's like right in the middle of that storm. Let's see how she's gonna handle it. Tuning into Brady's point of view, we see that he wasn't actually worried that Reinhardt and all his friends knew that he knows about the connection, but what he was actually worried about was that all of the people that was around the murder was actually very close to Sasha, and they already knew that Sasha had seen the murderer. It felt like danger was inching closer, reaching out to touch her. When he glanced at her, he saw the worry in her eyes, and he quietly said, "Don't let this get to you. I'll keep you safe." "Oh, here you go, knight in shining armor. I'll keep you safe. Let's see if you actually can." In that moment, Sasha was probably more worried about the fact that she had told Damian and the investigation was now slightly ruined, and that was basically what was eating at her, which Brady tried to come up with a reassurance that she didn't have to worry and they would go ahead and try to work with it, especially since now they had a possible video of the intruder going up the balcony. As they get access to the video, we found out that Brady is a lover of gadgets. He loves those small gadgets, especially since that town was small and they didn't actually have a lot of them. And Brady actually suggested that the sheriff office should have those gadget, like the camera that goes on and have like a 12 terabytes of space, and have night vision and all that thing that the condo actually had. Actually, not the condo that Mac's security firm had. But the funny thing is, he didn't actually have a lot of crime in that town. In fact, there was just 5 traffic lights in the whole Arcadia time, which is, if you ask me, funny, because he wants all that gadget to get evidence for high crime area, which basically was just taverns in that town. So that was funny how he was actually trying to involve all the city gadget in a small town like that. Part of him actually, I think, part of him loves the city technology, but he still likes being a cowboy and living in the quiet time. So that is kind of like a dynamic that I think the author was trying to show us, and if she didn't try to show us, that's what I saw and I liked it. So it depends on the reader, I guess. As they zoom into the video of Brady, saw a figure dressed in black wearing a ski mask. As I mentioned before, that's what I suspected, he was gonna be wearing a ski mask. And I bet you he was wearing gloves too, because he didn't get any fingerprints. So black, ski mask, and gloves. So that's a professional right here. What say Reinhardt didn't hire that person to clean up the mess? With quick, agile movement, the intruder tossed a hook attached to a rope over the banister on the first balcony and climbed up. He used similar moves to get to the 3rd floor. His entire climb took him only about 10 minutes. So that tells me he's probably professional mountain climber, or he just have military training. Military training, I'm guessing they would have climbing training to go as far as they can. So probably just a hired gun. That's what he is right here. I mean, that's what I'm getting from the picture here, because wearing black, clean work, and then doing the whole 3-story climb in about 10 minutes. That shows professional hired gun to me. And just like that, Brady is actually backing me up. He says, this isn't the first time he's done this. When it comes to breaking, this guy is a pro. When the intruder appeared on the balcony again, Max noticed that he wasn't carrying anything with him, which suggests that he wasn't coming for a robbery, which is probably gonna make Sasha more scared, because if he had taken the time and the energy to climb that free story and didn't come to rob, this means another murder right there. And it seems that Brady and I are in the same wavelength here. He clearly said that he suspected the intruder came in to find Sasha and to silence her once and for all. On the plus side, when the figure is slipped back to the lowest floor and dropped to the ground, he was limping, which means any person who limps around Sasha's environment could possibly be the murderer, or like they could actually target someone who's actually limping, or go to hospital and have them be notified for anyone that comes with a broken leg. However, they couldn't pick, the camera actually couldn't pick up any vehicle, so that means either the intruder came by foot, or there was a vehicle parked very far from where the camera were. This footage, however, convinced Brady that Sasha was in real danger and she could not stay in the condo by herself. And this concludes chapter 11, my friend. So I don't know what's going to happen in chapter 12, but we will see it together. And as I've mentioned, I'm thinking either Brady is going to be staying with Sasha in the condo, or take Sasha to his place to make sure that she's safe. Or there's gonna be both, but at different time. Maybe right now he's gonna stay in the condo and later on they're gonna move to his place. I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, do leave a like, a subscribe, and turn on that bell notification. And until next time, big kisses.